Hello and welcome to Part 5. This is the part for BI4Media, and we'll just go briefly through the BI4Media submodel. The BI4Media is a fairly extensive model for such things as newspapers and magazines and cable TV, those kinds of things. So media where you're pushing media out to people, and then including the advertising in that media. So media is a media subscription model and a single sales model for media. It came out of my work with the largest publisher in Australia and a newspaper that I worked on in the US for 9 months. And both these organisations did very well out of what we developed for them. And so these are the kind of ideas that we developed for these organisations, plus some others, but they were the major two. So it supports advertising and all the stuff around advertising, because advertising is important for media subscription services. Outlets, delivery plans, measures, transactions, and that includes home delivery, outlets, and then tables for the combined measures for home delivery and outlets, because if you're a newspaper deliverer, you want to have combined information for home delivery outlets. When I first did this for newspapers, I thought that given the squeeze on newspapers that there would be quite a bit of demand for this media model, but Sybase only sold a few of them. Subscribers, plans and measures, subscriptions, plans and measures, and development is ongoing. So the tables in BI4Media today, there are currently 73 dimension tables, which goes through advertisers, ad definitions, agencies, outlet, home delivery, carriers, start, stop, weeks and measures, subscriptions and subscribers, start and stop codes, things like that. Now we do have a longer presentation, a longer sales presentation for BI4Media, and if you are actually interested in BI4Media, you should watch that sales presentation. So media ad category code, ad classification code or ad class code, ad type code, the advertiser itself, the media agency, the audit special days. So if you providing audit numbers for a newspaper back to some central group to claim your advertising circulation, there may be special days where you want to mark those days on the calendar as special audit days. The carrier, particularly in newspapers or magazines, the carrier of the newspaper magazine out to the outlet, the carrier rates, the circulation zones, so all the media providers zone their circulation areas, the delivery reporting structure, the draw band, this is how many units of, say, newspapers or magazines are drawn, the drop point code, so where the magazines or newspapers are dropped is given a code. Oftentimes they're not dropped in the shop because the carrier brings the newspapers before the shop is opened. The outlet loyalty code, the outlet performance band, the outlet value index, so we index the values of the outlets, and then the actual outlet itself, the outlet reporting structure, the outlet type. So next we have the publication combined. So we have combined delivery measures and outlet delivery measures for all these dates. The solicitation reporting structure, the start week, the stop week, and the stop reason code. The subscription as opposed to the subscriber. So the subscription and all this information about the subscription. So the subscription offer, the subscription status, the subscription terms, and the subscription type. Now we called it Subion because you can go crazy saying the word subscription versus subscriber in a newspaper or a magazine. So when you have subscriptions and subscribers, like telco and media, we nicknamed them Subions and Subbers so that we could just say it more quickly. And we actually say that, we call them Subions and Subbers in our conversations. So subscribers, the delivery completion code for the subscriber, the loyalty code for the subscriber, the subscriber status, the subscriber band, subscriber status, and the tenure band for the subscriber. Then of course there's the truck which delivers things, the actual truck. Carrier over here is the name of the organization, not the individual truck. So a carrier may have many trucks that they use to deliver things with. And then media transaction type. So they're the dimension tables in BI4 Media. And the fact tables, there's currently 31 fact tables, and they make pretty much complete sense just by reading the names of them. You will have with you also the descriptions of these fact tables. So you have advertising, outlets, delivery, plans, measures, transactions for home delivery, outlets and combined, subscribers, plans and measures, subscriptions, plans and measures. So you've got the media ad agency dimensions association, so all the dimensions associated with the ad agency, the advertiser dimensions association, the outlet dimensions association, the subscriber dimensions associations, subscription dimension associations. Then you've got the advertisement measures that you want to measure, advertisement transactions, plans and measures. So for example, what we did was we actually at the newspaper recorded each advertisement on each page of each newspaper, and we could multiply that out by the number of newspapers delivered, and we kept that for a little while to see how the advertising performance went. You know, we got the newspaper to talk to their customers to see how that went. So we could actually tell how many times an ad was presented across the newspaper reading population. Now I also need to add that in this newspaper they had circulation zones, and they had 4 circulation zones, and an ad could be placed in any one of the zones. So an ad placed in the newspaper in one zone was not necessarily placed in a newspaper in another zone, unless it was paid for to be in that zone. So the newspapers were actually different. The content of the newspaper was the same, but the ads in the newspaper were actually different depending on the zone. They could do that. So advertising transactions, campaign measures, specifically for media campaigns, carrier transactions, plans and measures. We have publisher, publication, customer delivery transaction, plan measures, outlet delivery plan measure transactions, and then combined transaction plan measures. Okay, so customer delivery, outlet delivery, customer delivery being home delivery or to office delivery. A lot of newspapers in the US were delivering the newspaper to the office of people now. And then the combined delivery numbers. Then we had the outlet plan measures, so the overall plan measures for the outlet, and then the outlet product plan measures, so the individual product. When it was a magazine provider, when you are selling numerous different magazines, not just one newspaper, we can measure the outlet product plan and measures. Okay, so the publisher I did in Australia published 90 different magazines. So this would have up to 90 rows for each row in here. Then subscriptions, plans and measures, subscriber plans and measures, and subscription cancel transaction. So they are the fact tables in there. We will go across to the database itself and take a look. And here are the media fact tables, just so you can see that they are there. And things like the media ad agency dimensions, all the normal things are in there. We'll go across to advertisement transaction. You can see that it has 26 links, and then we have ad gross revenue. Again, in all cases you can hit pause and read these things. Ad gross revenue, ad net revenue, ad units, ad size, timestamp, ad description, add long description. So we were attributing revenue to the ad transactions in these cases. Okay. So when an advertisement happened, we were recording that record. Carrier transactions, showing you the carrier, the account, the transaction type, the transaction amount, the number of carrier transactions, transaction amount, units, timestamp, short description, long description. So just what have we done with this carrier? And then in terms of combined delivery, well, let's look at a customer delivery transaction. This is the delivery of a piece of media to a home or an office. And so you have the carrier, the account, the product, the customer, all those sorts of things, the building type so that you know whether you can get in, etc. The transaction type. And then you have the number of copies, the gross copy amount, net copy amount, nominal cost amount, cost of production, cost of delivery, nominal profit, chargebacks if there are any, the number of deliveries, the number of redeliveries, the number of complaints associated with this delivery, the number of chargeable complaints, the number of serious complaints, the number of service failures, the number of satisfactorily fixing your service failures, and the number of unsatisfactory fixing of your service failures, and a timestamp. So this is about when you deliver to home delivery. Sometimes the newspaper doesn't get delivered properly, and the customer will ring and complain and say, well, you know, can you deliver it to me at my office? And most newspapers in the US, if it's a home delivery customer and they say they didn't get their newspaper and can you deliver it to the office, they'll generally send somebody over to the office to deliver the newspaper, because in most US cities there is a reseller of your newspaper somewhere close to that person's office, and so they just call their local person and say, could you drop a newspaper over here please, a 5-minute job. So it's that kind of redelivery, not sending someone from the newspaper out and about to go deliver something and taking half an hour about it. And that's considered satisfactorily fixing that service failure, to get one of your resellers to just duck over and hand out a few newspapers and things like that if there was a non-delivery. So that's your customer delivery transaction, and we were measuring each delivery so that we could understand what was going on better. And then outlet delivery transaction, obviously going to the outlet through a truck, and again 23 links, and same sort of information, except there's scheduled things like scheduled truck arrival time, actual truck arrival time, number of minutes the truck is late, and the complaints against the trucks for delivery of the newspapers or magazines. Typically the service complaints and things like that are against newspapers, because there's a time critical element of newspapers. A good example of a time critical element for newspapers is you own a small shop on a railway platform. So in Sydney in Australia, where I come from, virtually every railway platform has somebody who has a small shop on the railway platform, and they pay rent to be able to sell in the shop, and they sell newspapers, because one of the things to do on your train ride into town is to read the newspaper. So if the truck is late and the people are coming to catch the train and there's no newspapers to sell, then your shop owner is going to call and complain, okay, because they couldn't sell the newspapers that morning, meaning they couldn't get their money. And I was one guy. I commuted to the city in Sydney for many years, and I bought my newspaper and a cup of coffee every morning from the local shop owner, and that was part of her business. And there were hundreds and hundreds of other men like me commuting to the city in the same way. So if you think about that, that's what that is all about. So then you have things like subscription measures. We could just go look through that for a second. You'll see that there is a lot of links, again 24 links, and then you have the household person, very important, subscription, and then you have the number of total number of copies. Then you have the day of week copies for newspapers and things like that. Okay. So your subscription measures actually count the number of copies per day, and you can sum the number of copies per day across subscriptions and things like that, the number of deliveries, the number of service failures and things like that, the estimated revenue, things like that. And what we found, one of the things we found when we looked at cancellations, we had a subscription cancellation table. We looked at cancellation, and we found that for each cancellation, so here's your subscription cancellation transaction where we recorded, just about everything that we could think of, trying to look at cancellations, because in a newspaper, a subscription cancellation is a big deal. It costs quite a lot of money to win a subscription, so you don't want the subscription cancelled. And what we found was that upwards of 90% of subscription cancellations had numerous serious complaints beforehand, and the person complained and complained and complained and then cancelled. And that was the vast majority of cancellations were prefixed with complaints. So when we found that out, the company instituted a policy where the head of circulation, where there were 2 serious complaints in a rolling 14-day period, the head of circulation rang and personally apologized to the person. And you wouldn't want to know, within 3 months, the number of cancellations, the rate of cancellations halved. That's right. And that's no joke. The rate of cancellations halved. And all they did was they looked at who had 2 unsatisfactorily solved complaints in a 14-day rolling period. When the second one happened, you called them and you just said, "We're really sorry about your complaint. We're doing our best. Please call us if there's a problem, etc., etc. Please call me personally if there's another problem." Okay? And it was just the fact that the head of circulation was the person who made the call that people said, "Okay, well, they're taking me seriously over there, and it's nice to get a call." And these calls, of course, would just take 5 minutes. But that halved the cancellations. It was amazing. We were staggered that it had such a big effect. So then outlet measures, you can measure everything about outlets. So again, large number of links, which you can hit pause on. Planned gross amount, planned copy amount, actual copy gross amount, actual copy net amount, things like that, number of complaints. We have things like a bleeder indicator. So a bleeder is an outlet where the sales are declining by a set amount over time. So they're starting to bleed sales, is what we call them. So we have bleeder indicators to go and say, okay, well, this outlet over here is not doing so well. Let's go and have a look at it and find out. Now, there are some reasons why you would want to ignore a bleeder. Let's say there's roadworks happening nearby, and simply put, people are having difficulty getting to this outlet now. And so, although sales are down, there's a reason why sales are down, and so you can ignore the bleeder. So there is a large number, as you can see, and you can hit pause on, number of measures associated with outlets. Because in a newspaper, your outlets are a big deal. And then outlet product plan is similar at the product level. Okay, so number of copies, etc., for the individual product. Because some newspapers print more than one newspaper. Okay, and certainly publishers print more than magazine publishers print more than one magazine. Okay, so those are the sort of things. Subscriber measures, we'll just look at that. So you can have the same thing for subscriber measures, and showing you number of chargeable complaints and revenues and total copies and things like that. So that's what's in BI4 Media. I won't go through the dimension tables. You can look at the descriptions of the dimension tables and it's fairly obvious what is in those dimension tables. If you want to look at one or two of them as part of this evaluation, then by all means we can send them over to you. So that's our source code demonstration for BI4 Media, and this is the end of part 5. Thank you very much for listening.